From the Channel Seed Studios, welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
And hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Hook. My name's Ken Miller, along with Trent Condon. I'm on Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO, Monday through Friday from 11 to 1. My partner is Mike Palm. He's the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. I've tailed Mike around a little bit, tried to keep up with him over the last couple of days. What a crazy place it is downtown on Fremont Street with Bet Bash going on, etc. It's a phenomenal time. Contest signups are going well. Seeing a lot of people sign up for Survivor and Circa Millions. We've got a lot of ground to cover. How are you, Mike Palm? You're finally catching a break.
I'm exhausted. We got from the frying pan to the fire here. And then, I get done with this, and then we start this 32-person blackjack tournament tonight where they'll draft all 32 teams to win the Super Bowl. We've done it before with 12. We've done it before with 10 people for baseball. Now we're going to try 32 tonight. But first of all, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We got to talk to the kid, Aiden Wyatt here. This is The Hook with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. That's ridiculous. You should get the top billing here. This would be like Matt Peral being in front of Ken Miller or Trent Condon. Unheard of. It cannot happen. Aiden, get this fixed for next week.
Pressure's on, Aiden Wyatt.
My bad.
No, we'll get her going. So, Mike, let's talk about Bet Bash first of all. You're the Hall of Fame dinner. The Hall of Fame is at Circa Sports Betting Hall of Fame. I guess what are some of the criteria? What gets you elected to the Sports Betting Hall of Fame? It's more than just hitting a couple of big bets in your life, right?
No, it was about contributions to the industry. I think there were 6 criteria, and you had to meet 4 of them. What a star-studded cast that's going in. So this is called the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. This was the invention of really Spanky and Matt Metcalf really came together to put this, and they're, Matt Metcalf's on the board that votes. There's 16 members, a blue ribbon panel that vote on people. You have to get 12 votes to get in. 10 people being inducted in this inaugural class, 5 posthumously and 5 that are still living. And the list of presenters is incredible as well. I mean, Billy Baxter's going in, his grandson's presenting him, but Billy Baxter, a member of the Poker Hall of Fame as well, and now going into the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. Chris Andrews, who's the sports director at South Point, is in a Hall of Fame of his own in New Jersey, is presenting his late uncle Jack Francie into the Hall of Fame. Vinny Maiulo, who's also in this Hall of Fame in New Jersey, the Sports Betting Hall of Fame, where this is the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. He's presenting Jackie Gaughan, the late Jackie Gaughan. I had the pleasure during my life of playing poker with both Billy Baxter and Jackie Gaughan. Jackie Gaughan in the later years when he would come down and play 1-3 at the El Cortez, which he owned at the time. He's presenting Jackie Gaughan, and Michael Gaughan, owner of the South Point, is going to be accepting the award. It's a who's who. Roxy Roxborough's going in. Lefty Rosenthal's going in posthumously. His daughter's accepting the award. His daughter I met the other night at Bar Canada. So she's the little girl, right? The character of the little girl in Casino, Sharon Stone's daughter.
Oh, really?
Sharon Stone's character Lefty's wife must have been a good-looking lady, because this lady's very sharp at 50. So she's accepting. Let's see. Nick Bogdanovich is putting in Bob Martin, who's considered the father of the modern bookmaker posthumously. And then Jack Binion inducting Billy Walters is kind of the crescendo of the night.
Yeah, Billy Walters got a little publicity today. We'll get to that in just a second. So this is a pretty good group of folks. Of course, it's a big part of the overall week that Bet Bash makes up. If you like to bet on sports, is this something you would recommend? I mean, what are people that are paying their entry fee to be a part of this? And it's like a 4-day event, culminates tomorrow. Would you recommend doing something like this? It's for everybody, right? Novices. You're going to rub elbows with some pretty important people that bet on sports.
I think it's a tremendous networking opportunity if you're in the space.
Yeah.
And, you come out here for 4 nights and it includes your room and everything. I think it was the first year it was 600 and then 800. And I don't know if it was near 1,000 this year, but it's 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night at Circa. And they have events. Tuesday night was a cocktail party at Bar Canada at the D. You could hardly breathe up there. I mean, they might have had 350 people there.
Wow.
They did what they call Bet Dash on Wednesday morning in the ballroom here at Circa. I call it like speed dating, but it's a networking opportunity. So you put down a bunch of facts about yourself. And there were, I believe, 384 people in the room. They match you with 15 other people, and you sit across from them and talk for 4 minutes.
Is that right?
And they ring the bell, and then you go to a next person and ring the bell, and they take a little break. They ring the bell. But over 2 hours, you meet 15 people you've never met before and get to talk to them. And they try to match people up with similar interests and things like that. So that's tremendous. They had a scavenger hunt this morning. Spanky put up a $20,000 prize pool for it.
Wow.
I don't know who won yet. Maybe they'll tell me later tonight. There were still people looking to find different things at our different properties. I know Paul Stone and Rex Byers were a team. They're like, we need to get this to get the first clue. And I said, well, if I can help you, cut me in. I mean, if you
right.
Tonight, they've got a bunch of people at the overhang and in some of the booths at the sports book to watch some NFL preseason, as well as stadium swim if people wanted to go out there. It's very humid, though, I can tell you. Rained here this morning and then got real humid. It's like Iowa humidity. And then tomorrow really culminates it with the betting panels and then the Hall of Fame opening at 5 p.m. and then the Hall of Fame Black Tie Gala dinner, which I'm emceeing at 6 to 10 tomorrow night. The panel should be terrific. There's 3 panels, and Spanky's interviewing Billy Walters for his podcast. The first panel goes at 10 a.m. Mitch Moss from VSiN, Follow the Money, is moderating the panel. 4 panelists, including Matt Metcalf. The second panel will be moderated by Gil Alexander from a number game on VSiN called The Traders. That's more about the bookmakers side of things. Glenn Herzog from the Circa Risk team is going to be on that panel. They take a short lunch break, and then Spanky has a podcast called Be Better Betters, and he's going to live record his podcast in front of this group, interviewing Billy Walters for an hour. And then the final, which might be the most interesting, I'm really trying to construct my schedule to get away for it, is the final panel is called Why Can't We All Just Get Along? And it's about social media and the sports betting space. Jeff Benson is on the panel. Sam Panayotovich, Windy City Sam, who used to be a VSiN host from Chicago, now works for Nesson, will be the moderator for that panel. I think they'll all be terrific, but the one on Twitter I'm especially looking forward to.
Well, you were on VSiN with Mitch Moss and Paulie this morning very early and talking about things. So you've had a long day. Another day tomorrow, and then you could maybe put your feet up and rest. But it's football season.
Saturday's the final round of blackjack, and then we have the 32-team draft Saturday afternoon at 3:00. So there's no rest for the wicked. No rest for the wicked, Kenny.
Who will? I mean, we don't know who's going to go 1. Who will go 32? Arizona? I mean, will that be whoever finishes last in the blackjack? They're almost guaranteed to get Arizona.
I
right?
had an idea. And I didn't think of it soon enough because you have to submit the rules to the Gaming Control Board. If I'd have thought of it at the beginning for this event, I could have made it interesting by saying, you draft 1 through 32 and you first gets a $10,000 future, then 9, then 8, and it goes down. And like the last ones are 2,000 and 1,500 at the bottom. But I was going to put a twist in. If you select the team that has the most losses, you get 10,000 cash. And I wanted to see at what inflection point did somebody pick the Cardinals, saying, oh, I'm 10th in the draft, I'm 12th. I don't think I can pick a team to win the Super Bowl. Let's hit the Cardinals at this spot. It would have been interesting at least.
You know what? 5 teams in the AFC, maybe 3 in the NFC, probably right around 10, 11, 12. You got to start thinking pretty serious, right?
Mitch and Paul asked me this morning on air how many teams I thought today could win the Super Bowl, and I said 5. I mean, I'm being very conservative. Other teams have the ingredients, but I think San Francisco, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Baltimore are the only teams right now that if they play to their level, I think they can win. Other teams have the ingredients. They can take steps forward. Things can happen. There's just so many teams I'm not sold on. I don't believe in the Chargers. I don't believe in the Cowboys. I don't believe in the Lions. Those are your like Missouri teams to me. You got to show me. I've seen it too often before. So that's a short list. But I would think Arizona would go in the 10 to 12 range if we had done it that way. I'll put that in the rules next year.
I like that. I like that a lot. So there was one team that I think is noticeably absent. This time last year, they were the favorites to win the Super Bowl in the Buffalo Bills. Why don't you like them this year?
I think the window's closing. I think there's a lot of pressure there. They still can't run the football. Look, Cincinnati went in there and punched them in the mouth and just physically beat that team in Buffalo in the snow.
Right.
I don't know what the excuse is for them, and I don't know that they got better in the running game. Josh Allen's still their best running back. Everybody talks about Lamar Jackson's the leading rusher for Baltimore. Well, Josh Allen's the leading rusher for Buffalo. So
yeah.
I just think the window is closing. I think the AFC East could be competitive, but I can't back anybody. I want to say Miami because of the weapons, but Tua's next hit will be his last hit. I think the coach will take a step forward. There's a lot of reasons I like Miami. I don't know if I, bet them to win the Super Bowl. I leaned that Miami could sneakily win that division.
Are you going to see it? And my guess is you're going to. There's usually that hard knocks bump, right? But with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, I think this is going to be a real popular yearly series on Hard Knocks. It seemed to be losing its luster a little bit. I think Hard Knocks is back because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that was a great land for them and how that conspired. I know the Jets have been more restrictive. They're not going to show footage of when they cut players and stuff like that. Look, to use a horse racing term, know them early because their schedule's tough early. And I think if they can navigate the first part of their schedule at 4-2 or 3-3, they could be dangerous. But, if you told me they were 1-5 after 6 weeks, I wouldn't, sneeze at that. I think that's possible. It's real tough early. So the AFC is really interesting because there's 3 or 4 good teams that will not make the playoffs. Teams that they're a playoff team. I mean, I think I looked at it. It's only 7 teams can make the playoffs, but 9 are favored to. If on the yes/no prop, right? 9 are favored to make it. Can only be 7. I'm a Broncos fan. I told you this before. I'm seeing more positive Russell Wilson. I mean, I want to believe, Mike, but I saw with my own 2 eyes last year. Is the coaching staff going to make that big of a difference? Is Peyton that much of a QB maker? Boy, he had some good teams in New Orleans.
He did.
And the final years, I mean, they were good on both sides of the ball, actually. And he did stuff with a short quarterback like Breeze, right? I mean, Wilson's not overly tall. I think he was very shrewd. I mean, you don't go after another coach like he went after Hackett. Yeah. He was trying to take all the pressure off that team and say that I believe in them and it wasn't their fault last year and kind of give them a fresh start. It's strange with Wilson because they still line up people in Seattle to trash this guy, right? And what a DB he was and how out of touch he is. And so he looked different last year. I don't know what it was, but in Seattle, he could tuck the ball and run and take hits. And, he's not small. But he looked like he was very reticent to try to run it all last year. And I think part of the problem, honestly, was Hackett never got to play in before 8 seconds on the play clock.
That's true.
Never let him audible. He could never. No. How many delay of games did they take, especially at the goal line? I mean, it was awful.
The fan base, Mike, started counting down the play clock in Denver. It got
Unreal.
that bad.
That bad. So we took over win total bets and yes to make the playoffs at the plus price on Denver after Peyton made the comments. So we'll see. I hope they're better. I mean, it was sad state of affairs last year, especially that game. What was on Christmas against where they were just
the Rams. It was terrible.
I had to turn it off. It was so ugly, right? Yeah. I mean, and the Rams were awful last year. So
terrible.
That's a proud franchise. They've been a well-run franchise for many years.
Mm-hmm.
You're from Winnipeg, but geographically, that serves a huge area, right?
Yes.
Denver, huge. Like St. Louis used
Mountain
to be a
time zone
because of the radio, right? That's such a massive area.
Yeah.
So I think the football's better when Denver's competitive.
You're preaching to the choir there, my friend. Well, you mentioned Billy Walters. His name's come up a couple of times. His name came up a lot this morning. In fact, I turned on VSiN when you were. Well, I walked down to Jackpots to get my coffee, and I looked over in the studio, and there you were, sequestered on the end. But then I came back up to the room and turned it on, and talking about all of these things. So. Billy Walters, Phil Mickelson. We knew that Mickelson liked to bet. Billy Walters, who was very good friends at the time with Phil Mickelson, that is not the case anymore. In fact, Billy Walters says that the reason he served time in prison is because that Mickelson would not testify on his behalf, and he thought that if he would have told the truth in testimony, that he would have walked. Boy, he bet a lot of money, but he makes a lot of money. What was your takeaway from the Mickelson allegations today?
Well, everybody's been waiting for this book, which was co-written by Armin Katayan. People know him. He's been a great investigative.
He's terrific.
Investigative, right? A documentary type writer and filmmaker.
Real sports, correct?
Yeah, real sports. Yep. And he was a CBS sideline reporter for years too before. But he does the documentary side. I think Billy's using this opportunity with Bet Bash in the Hall of Fame. He's got some attention, and they're kind of leaking these details. I said, look, they said, can you believe Phil bet $1 million? I said, yeah, bet $1 million. You can create a lot of volume if you're a break-even bettor or a small loser, right? I mean, you create a lot of value. You're recycling the money. He bet $1 billion. He lost $100 million. I mean, a 10%. I think it's very believable. Obviously, he was betting on every sport, not just golf, but football, baseball. What they say, he made 42 bets on one day, all 110,000 in baseball, and he really only lost like one bet, right? He had one bet. So, yeah, I know there's hard feelings there and they were partners. I mean, that's how he has all the records. They were partners, and that's the tax evasion with Phil not coming in on his half of it and all that. So I don't know. I also try to be fair and look at both sides of things. I have a special spot in my heart for kids with Down syndrome and mental challenges. And, Billy Walters had his son, and all the money he's given to Opportunity Village in our community here in Las Vegas. It takes special, patient people to deal with that. And it touched my heart every time I see a special child. So I try to visit there once a year and take my kids there so they understand how lucky they are.
Yeah.
They have all the physical and mental abilities. So that always, when I talk about Billy, sways on me.
There's a great piece on him at 60 Minutes did years ago. How he handled an NFL Sunday and how he spread money out. He would try to get down, and Mickelson opened up some doors for Billy Walters, I guess, in faraway places to do that. So if Mickelson could get that much money down, you knew that he was a player. All right, so let's move on. What are you seeing NFL wise? What does preseason mean to Las Vegas? Preseason games, a couple of them tonight. Of course, it really ratchets up this weekend.
Yeah, it gets people back into the books to watch and gets people excited about football. We're doing great with the signups, boosted by Bet Bash. We did 199 yesterday. You and Trent helped us today. We're at a 119, still doing signups. The proxies are busy, but I mean, we're at 2588 in Survivor and 1419 in Millions. And our guys that are the statisticians and analytic guys in the war room are telling me that there's the range of possibility we do 11,000 Survivor entries this year. I said a month ago 10. They're saying 11. I'm trying to put the brakes on 11 a little bit, and I think we'll be real close. I said low 5,000s. I think we'll be real close to 6,000 in the Millions as well. It's funny because there's not as much crossover as you think. Some people love Survivor and they play that. Some people like the Millions because they don't want to get knocked out in one game and they want the quarterlies. Others want the big shot. They don't want to try to pick 5 games a week. It's they're very different contests. So like the Full House 10 and 5, not that many people do it because they do 5 of one or 10 of the other. But this Survivor we'll be talking about it. I hope you guys are in for a long time because stories are compelling every week. I mean, I'm already debating on week 1. People are, who's going to be the most popular pick? I think it's going to be the Commanders because when else are you going to use Washington? And then people, maybe it's Minnesota. They're going to be the biggest favorite against Tampa Bay. But I would make the argument. I think it's sneaky because the assumption is it's going to be Minnesota. But I think more people will use Washington when they look at the whole schedule.
You know who I'm back on my squad's bandwagon. I like Denver to beat the Raiders in week 1, Mike.
We're really, in our book, from the betting patterns, really negative on Raiders. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Under, alternate win total, under, no playoffs. I mean,
really?
There's nothing, no positive betting on the Raiders, and we're right here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, which is really surprised because
with a big Southern California fan base too.
Yeah, true.
Right? So
you're right. Yeah.
By the way, how ridiculous is the Henry Ruggs sentence?
3 years?
That's outrageous.
Yes. I was shocked.
The dog burned alive. The people at the scene talk about the dog wailing as it burned alive. The woman died. He's doing 160 at the intersection of Rainbow and Tropicana. Ken, if you did 60 there, you'd be going too fast. It's all residential. I mean, I drive by this every day, and he was drunk with the guns. I mean, I thought it was 10 to 20, no doubt. Maybe 10 to 15. 3? Awful.
Yeah. Because he'll be, 27, 28 years old when if indeed he does get out after 3. They they can extend it to 10. But yeah, I was surprised there wasn't more outcry, Mike. Maybe locally, I just don't know where to look to see if there was, but nationally, didn't see a ton of it.
No, I didn't either. And to me, it was really offensive.
Yeah. What are you seeing college football wise?
A little bit of conference betting. The national title market is because
you can't play it.
You can't play it, and people aren't playing it, right? What are you going to do? Lay 2 to 1 or lay 4 to 5 to 1. Why? You can get that later in the year. So why bet it? And it's hard to identify a team that's on the outside looking in when these teams are that good and that consistent. So you see more of the betting in the conferences. You know, season win totals, winning conferences. It's just the national title market is a really tough one this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, you've had a busy day. We appreciate you finding time for us here on the hook. Down to a blackjack tournament. What time will that keep you here till?
Well, so the cocktail party and registration 6 to 7. We're at 5:35 here as we tape this. We got to play 2 flights of the rounds because to get 32 people in, we got 4 tables, 4 each, 2 rounds. So it'll play a full hour. We play 21 hand rounds, so 8, and then we got to put the standings in a spreadsheet, and then I handwrite them all up. Maybe I get out of here by 9:30. I was here at 5 a.m. for Follow the Money, and I actually got up at 1 a.m. last night to write the no hyperbole.
Oh my gosh!
So, and tomorrow's a worst day for me. I just had a request for an interview, and the executive secretary said, "What time are you available for 10 to 20 minutes?" 2:15 to 2:35 is the only window I have from 8 a.m. to midnight.
I saw Dana Jacobson downstairs earlier. Is she doing something? Of course, a former ESPN anchor. She went to Valley High School in Des Moines. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did, and I saw her, and I said hello. She's part of the covering the Bet Bash, and she's gonna be here tomorrow night too. But I saw her come in the pink and all that, and I yelled out and said hello to her. I mean, she stood out coming down the steps there.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't too long ago. The Circa was all lit up in pink, right, for the big Barbie. Unveiling. Unbelievable. Great to be here with you, Mike. Had fun last night watching the no-hitter Lorenzen get his no-no. I do one more thing before we sign off. The Power Slap that you guys are a sponsor. I think you got up. You had another event you needed to attend, and I sat in the booth, and I couldn't take my eyes off it, Mike. I think it's the most barbaric thing I've ever seen in my life, but I couldn't stop watching.
All we talked about at lunch, because most of the guys went. I didn't go, but they went about this Hawaiian guy, this crazy Hawaiian. Yeah. And Jeff Benson's telling me that the guy can't be knocked out. Maybe he could lose a decision, but he can't be knocked out. He doesn't even flinch it. He's the jumbo heavyweight champion of the world.
Super heavyweight. Yeah.
There's a great story about the kid that was in the first fight. So Derek Stevens met him. Teague was his name. Paul Teague or something. He had a shirt on. He was a UFC fighter. He was ranked 378th in the lightweight class. He was 1-8 in UFC. So now he's in this slap, and he met Derek the other night, and he was going on and on. What a great hotel. He's like, they don't usually even let me come into the hotels. They make me sleep in the car. He said, I finally got on the main card, and he's showing. So Derek pulls out the Circa app, and he's looking at it on his phone, right? And he goes, oh, there you are, Paul Teague. And the guy's like, oh, there I am. He goes, what does this plus 300 mean by my name?
Nice.
So Derek now has to try to explain to him plus $3 minus for, and this kid said, well, I'm going to beat this guy. Why would he be the favorite? So now Derek's talking like, well, maybe what does this guy know? This and that. And I mean, the guy went off at $6, his opponent. So Paul Teague wins the coin flip. I don't know if you saw this on TV.
I didn't see it.
I never watched one slap of whatever, but he slaps the guy and breaks his wrist, hitting the guy's face, and
saw the decision. Yes,
he broke his wrist, slapping the guy. It was over. He never even took a punch. It was over.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. That's when I first started watching it.
They were sitting there watching the rest of the card. 4 fights later, he's looking on his Twitter, and Paul Teague's back at Stadium Swim watching the fights, posting the video on Twitter.
Oh,
said he
that's
had to
awesome.
enjoy every minute of it before he sleeps in the car again, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. They made the kids sleep in the car. That's not fair. Good to see you, my friend. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the radio at 12:05 Central Time in your normal spot. Well, normal for a couple more weeks, and then you're going to bump to 11:30 as more responsibilities with Beeson. So good stuff. Mike, thank you. Thank you to all for tuning in here. Another episode of The Hook. We'll see you next week here on the Iowa Everywhere Network. Appreciate you being with us.